What's up my subscribers and unsubscribers, and welcome back to another unit review. Today we'll be looking at Red Riding Mina, another special legend unit just like the past two unit reviews. To unlock her, you need to beat Learned to Love, the final stage in Weak and Mildly Acidic, which is the 28th chapter in Stories of Legends. Unlike the other special legend units I've covered, I'm not going to give the evolved form as much coverage. The reason for this can just be seen in these two images. Just to look at the DPS comparison between these two units, Mina is looking pretty terrible. They're both LD units. Valter has 350 range and Mina has 435 range. Their LD parameters are pretty similar. So how are you going to justify costing 3,900 and have less DPS than a 10,050 cost super rare with 1/4 of your cooldown? Mina has no abilities other than long distance in evolved form, so let's just pretend this thing doesn't really exist. The only reasons to ever use this unit are if you don't own Valtercat or any other LD units and you're completely desperate for one, or to stack her like I'm doing right now in Deathhawk. It's okay in some of the Lil stages, but it has about 1/3 the DPS of Urarun and Bahamut Cat, so yeah. Only use this thing if you're absolutely desperate for an LD unit or you plan on stacking this piece of garbage. However, this sad state of affairs changes in her true form. To acquire it, you need to beat the final chapter of Stories of Legends and then use the cat fruit shown to evolve her. Her true form both grants her a stat overhaul and actual abilities. So, if we pull up her new stat spread, we can see that she's actually pretty decent now, with a 50% increase to health, a 100% increase to damage, and new anti-relic weaken and curse immune abilities, as well as slightly improved LD parameters. Red Riding Mina is looking pretty fresh now. Comparing her stats to other LD units, they aren't as good as most other LD Ubers, but she does have the advantages of a below average 97-second cooldown, as well as good standing range and decent speed, unlike the suicidal speed demon Hayabusa, and low range, risky to use air. And the best part? She's not outclassed by a single Valtercat anymore. Hooray. Moving on to her new abilities, they seem pretty interesting and useful on paper. A 50% increase to weaken relics for 3.33 seconds. Unfortunately, just having an anti-relic ability doesn't automatically mean you're crazy overpowered, and having only a 50% chance makes this ability unreliable, and having an only 51% uptime is also pretty unreliable. So, on average, this ability will more often than not be inactive due to its 50-50 activation chance and lowish uptime. It's more of a little extra bonus that can help you once in a while rather than a competent CC unit. Just stick to Thaumaturge for now, boys. Having covered her stats and abilities, let's go over the pros and cons of this unit. Red Riding has the pros of decent cost and cooldown, a decent attack stat and DPS, safe standing range, and good LD parameters. Alright, so the last one, this one is more of a pro and a con. It's a double-edged sword. So, having a 300 range gap where enemies can hide inside is usually a bad thing, but if a stage allows you to, you can stall the enemies within her blind spot and start stacking multiple Minas. This is further helped by her shorter than most LD unit cooldown. This quirk also extends to her evolved form, as previously mentioned, which is why she is still usable to some extent in certain stages if stacked. This can be easily used and abused in Crazed, Manic, and Little Mohawk Awakening stages. So, the blind spot is pretty useful, but again, it's also a con because a lot of enemies can fit into a 300 range gap and wreak havoc, like boars, bun-buns, you name it, it's almost anything that's a melee attacker. Her other downsides are her bad ability parameters, low 30.6k HP, and being easily killed by enemies that outrange her when no stepping stone is present. Of course, being outranged when there's no stepping stone is a problem for all LD units, so take that one with a grain of salt. Now, with the pros, cons, and everything else discussed, where does she place on the tier ranking leaderboards? You don't unlock Mina until the 28th chapter of Stories of Legends, so no early game score. In mid-game, I gave her a C+. She'd be D if not for the fact she was no gacha, and can be used in 4-star restriction stages. Being stackable in all of the Mohawk stages is a major factor that keeps her in C+. Overall though, a very bad unit in mid-game due to very poor attacking stats and very bad survivability due to the low HP. In late game though, with her added true form, I had to give her an A-. Similar to Urarun Wolf, she has really decent stats for late game and 4-star, other than her lowish health, and is a really good benchmark to determine whether other LD units are good actually. I'll pull up the comparison sheet once again, but you know, most of the other Ubers just have either her DPS or a little higher, and her cooldown is lower than most of theirs, and her cost is also lower than most of theirs, so again, she's pretty decent, not as good as most Ubers, but definitely not terrible. As for a specialist tier, I had to give her a B. Keep in mind that I'm not factoring in her anti-relic abilities because she's pretty bad at that, so I don't really consider that her specialty. As an overall long distance unit, she's pretty decent. She has the ability to snipe enemies out of her range with a stepping stone, or get stacked due to her biggish blind spot. These two properties are a big thing that make LD units special, so having a B ranking is very appropriate, considering she kind of represents what a normal or decent long distance unit should be. Her true form does pretty well at sniping Relic Muth and Rutsburg's Vortex, and most other 4-star stages that you'll encounter redoing SOL. And with all that said and done, I guess that's the end of the video. I will admit, I have been having some motivation issues lately. I don't think I'll ever really stop making videos, it's just that, you know, life's kind of crappy right now. I'm suffering from some physical injuries, and I have been for a while. So being in pain all the time and just being weak and crippled very much sucks. The worst part is I used to be pretty in shape, you know. I could run a 5K no sweat. I was a pretty good runner, but my glory days are behind me. I'm all messed up now. But I guess at least I can make these videos, and they're kind of really the only thing I'm doing right now, as sad as that sounds, other than physical therapy and some other stuff. Had to quit work due to these injuries, and I don't know, most of the time I've just been feeling like shit. I know a lot of people have it worse, and you know, I'm lucky to have access to treatment and stuff. It's just that I've been in chronic pain a lot for a while, and I'm kind of getting sick of it, you know? I want to be free and healthy again. So if you're watching and you know you're relatively healthy, you can go out for a walk without saying like, ow, ow, shit, ow. Please just do me a solid and enjoy it. It does not last forever, so you might as well enjoy it while you have it. I wish I could go just walk around and be unbothered by the feeling of your joints rubbing together and all that shit. And the scary thing is that even though I'm bitching so much, I know there's tons of people who have it worse out there. And they have it way worse than me, because at least I have access to medical care. I mean, one of those people who has it worse might even be one of you guys. And, you know, if you're in a sucky situation right now, just know that I'm sorry. And you'll break out of it one day. Someday soon, hopefully. But enough of me just randomly talking and ranting. I do like to include a little outro, and this is that, but I try not to make it too long, though I guess I already have. It's whatever though, I like to vent a little bit of my feelings at the end of the video. But anyway, you know, this is just a fun cat game, so if you enjoyed, please let me know in the comments, please leave a fat sub, maybe even a like. And tell me if I should continue reviewing all the special legend units, or if I should move back on to Ubers or other rarity units. Either way, it's been real, it's been fun, and I'll see you in the next video.